Get ready for 2 hours of live debate right here from McNeese Convention Center. Hi, everybody. I'm KIDY's Bob Brickeen.
And good evening. I'm Monica Quintero. You can be sure there's going to be lots of action, and we're going to hear a lot of good stuff from the candidates. The first debate is going to be with candidates from the San Angelo City Council. Now, I'm going to list them. They're in no particular order. Trinidad Aguirre, place 1. Bill Richardson, place 1. Harry Thomas, place 3. Danny Cardenas, place 3. Elizabeth Grindstaff, place 5. Matthew Lane Carter, place 5. And R.A. Cantrell, place 5.
Now, immediately following the council debate, we'll hear candidates for Chief of Police for San Angelo. Again, in no specific order, Tim Vasquez, Mike Hernandez, Jeff Davis, and Frank Carter. And KIDY's J.J. Maldonado will be following this debate through its entirety. He will bring you the reaction and some good interviews from the debate coming up on KIDY News at 10.
And of course, we want to hear from you. Join us on our social media.
Yeah.
Send us tweets. Talk to us on Facebook. We're going to be addressing those comments in our 10 o'clock newscast. So we certainly want to hear from everybody and hear what questions, because this is a time to ask. The May election's right around the corner,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of folks want answers.
All right, let's go inside now to our city council debate and to moderator Dr. Jack Barber.
Good evening, everybody. From Foster Communications, my name is Rick Andrews, and welcome to the San Angelo Candidate Forum. Tonight, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, get answers, and come away as better informed voters. Now, one of the things I'd like to remind you, before we get things started, if you could please turn the ringers off on your cell phones tonight. The forum is divided into 3 sessions, one for city council candidates, one for police chief candidates, and then an informal session at the end that will allow you to meet and speak to the candidates in person. Now, to submit your questions, you'll find writing materials at the table in the back. You may also submit your questions on Twitter at SAELEX or on Facebook.com/Go San Angelo. This forum is going to be conducted as a civil, fair, and informative discussion on the future of San Angelo, and anyone who has a legitimate question of public interest is welcome to participate. We will not permit personal attacks on any of the candidates or their families. I'd like to introduce our candidates for City Council, Trinidad Aguirre and William Richardson for Single-Member District 1, Daniel Cardenas and Harry Thomas for Single-Member District 3, and Lane Carter and Elizabeth Grindstaff for Single-Member District 5. The City Council portion of this evening is going to last till about 6:55 tonight. 2 candidates for Single-Member District 5 are not present this evening. Martin Gwynn declined to participate, and the forum was also unable to contact R.A. Cantrell. At 7 o'clock tonight, we will welcome the candidates for Police Chief Frank Carter, Jeff Davis, Mike Hernandez, and Tim Vasquez. 7:55 tonight, the debate will end, and you are welcome to speak to the candidates in person, and you can help yourself to some light refreshments available in the back of the room.
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for attending tonight's event. I am Trinidad Aguirre, SMD1 candidate. I believe it's a calling to serve on the City Council. It requires giving up your time, resources, and energy. As a City Council member, you must understand that you represent your constituents honestly and fairly. It's not about you and or personal gain, but rather what is right for San Angelo and its citizens. I have built a strong foundation to serve as a City Council member. I have a bachelor's and master's degree. As president of Horizon, I manage multi-million dollars and thousands of employees, but have also started 2 small businesses from the ground up. I was the chair of the Charter Review Committee, serve as the president of the Lake Nasworthy Association, and have worked side by side with your Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Center. San Angelo is our home, and I believe that as your representative for SMD1, we will be able to resolve our water, street, and safety issues. Please vote for Trinidad Aguirre, SMD1, the candidate who will get things done. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bill Richardson. I'm running for Single-Member District 1. My family and I moved to San Angelo from Edmonton, Alberta over 21 years ago. I'm a retired cartographic technologist. I believe I'm the best qualified candidate as the city moves forward into the information age. The city is engaged in setting up a geographical information system. I believe the GIS will help the city department run more effectively, cut costs, and provide better service. I have a background in GIS, traditional mapping, contract oversight, and budget management. I've worked with climatologists, biologists, forests, and planners. I've studied street design, subdivision design. I have the ability to effectively communicate with the water and engineering departments, and I have the ability to offer constructive input. My top priorities are depth, infrastructure, water, private property rights, and attracting businesses not looking for a government handout. Thank you.
I would like to take the time to thank everyone for being here today. And I'm Daniel Cardenas. I've been in San Angelo 61 years. I'm native San Angeloan. I got involved with politics at a very young age in my 20s. But before then, I got involved in my teens with my aunt. I did a lot of politicking when I was young. I learned a lot from my aunt in politicking. I became involved and ran for the city council back in 1983-84. I ran and I won my position as a city councilman. I served for 12 years, off and on. Okay, not all together, but off and on. I also served 3 years on the school board. I also served 6 years on the zoning board of adjustments of the city of San Angelo. I believe the city council should be transparent. I believe that our city council at this time has not been honest and has not been transparent to the citizens of San Angelo. They give you opportunities to vote on a decal for the city vehicles, but they don't give you an opportunity to vote on trash rates. You know, I mean, that's pretty sad. I believe that if I get elected to the city council, I will serve you, and you will have a voice. I will communicate with you directly. If you call me, I will answer your phone calls, every phone call, every time you call me. I thank you so much, and I hope that you vote for Daniel Cardenas for the City Council, Single Member District 3. Thank you, and God bless you.
My name is Harry Thomas. I moved back to San Angelo in 1971 after serving 8 years in the Air Force. I was stationed at Goodfellow and fell in love with San Angelo and the citizens. My wife and I will be married 37 years at the end of this month. I got 2 grown sons and 2 precious granddaughters. I worked for Goodyear Proving Grounds for 40 years, the last 20 as their chief accountant. While working for Goodyear, I earned my degree from Angelo State University. Over the years, I've served on many nonprofit boards, 20 years with the Boys and Girls Club, twice on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, twice on the United Way Board. Just finished 6 years with Fort Concho. Today I serve on the Elks Board and Rush Street Ministries Advisory Board. In all of these organizations, I've had the opportunity to hold leadership roles and get consensus for the board members so that the organization was able to meet their mission. My name is Harry Thomas. As an accountant, I'll be watching your tax dollars. I need your vote on May 7th.
Hello, can y'all hear me? My name is Lane Carter, and first of all, I want to thank our sponsors and all of y'all for attending tonight. I'm a homegrown boy, born and raised here all 28 years of my life. Graduated from Central High School in 2006, graduated from ASU twice, 2010 with a biology degree, and 2012 with a nursing degree. I'm currently an OR nurse at the Shannon Surgery Center, and I remodel houses on the side. I've been married 3 years to my wife, Paige, with 1 little boy on the way. We attend Paul Ann Baptist Church, and this is home, and it will always be home. So my intentions for running for council is to be the voice for all of our citizens. Not everybody is being represented at 100%. There are people that believe that their voice doesn't matter, and they won't reach out to the city council. We need to reach out to them. So on May 7th, if you want someone to be a listening ear, then vote Lane Carter for Single Member District 5. Thank you.
Again, thank you to our sponsors for hosting this. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm Elizabeth Grindstaff, for those of you that don't know me. I have worked in municipal government as a professional for 24 years before retiring to go to work for Texas Pacifico Railroad. I am the mother of 2 teenagers at Central High School. I'm a member of Emmanuel Episcopal Church, a former board member of our Chamber of Commerce, as well as a member of our city's Airport Advisory Board. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree from Texas A&M University, and if you don't make me, I won't tell you the years. My interest in running for re-election is to use my unique skills and knowledge of this organization in our community to streamline processes, secure an affordable future water supply, encourage economic development, and reduce the tax burden on individuals by growing a larger, more diverse tax base. The challenges that face our city require experience and understanding of complex issues, and I have that. I have a demonstrated passion for public service, and I want to use that to the citizens' advantage. Thank you for the opportunity of being here.
Thank you. We'll now go to the panel, and they have questions. And if one of the representatives would like to do a follow-up, please raise your hand, and I'll recognize you. You'll have 30 seconds to do a follow-up if you need it.
Property values in San Angelo have consistently risen over the past few years, and with them, the council has been able to lower or maintain city tax rates without reducing or, and many times, increasing the actual dollars of income to the city. What do you believe the council should do if property values decrease sometime in the future, i.e., would you raise taxes? Would you cut back on provided services? Would you reduce plans for things like street reconstruction? Or should it take some other strategy?
That is directed to all of the council members.
Where would you like to start?
Well, my answer to that would be we have been misguided in the past. The council gives us a rollback of gives us credit for a rollback of 2 cents, 2 cent rollback, 2% rollback on our taxes, and then they come through the back door and go up on our valuations between 18 to 30%. What I believe that we need to do, I think that we're having big government here. And believe me not, I am a very, very conservative person on the council in the past, for those people that know me. I believe for us to be effective, we need to start trimming the budget. We need to bite the bullet and say, okay, what do we need to do? For a tree to grow healthy, what do? You prune the tree from the top to the bottom. That's what we do at home. So that's what I would do if I was elected.
From my perspective, I think what we have to do is take a look at our expenses versus revenue. And before we make such a decision, we really need to take a look at where the city is, whether we need to increase the rates, whether we need to find a way to obtain additional dollars to meet the services of the citizens. So for me, it's not about picking one or two of those, but rather evaluating with time and the right people, what the shortfall or increase would be, and then make a decision.
I would say,
Sorry.
I would say reevaluate the budget. We shouldn't take it out on the taxpayers just because of economic downturn. We need to funnel the funds to where it goes to the appropriate places, and at first that would be the infrastructure, which include the police, fire, water lines, and the streets. I would not take away from that. But I believe that the budget can be reevaluated and funds stop being misappropriated to where they will be funneled down to the appropriate places.
One of the difficulties in having to trim a budget is about 70% of the total operating budget goes to personnel. And so most of what we do here, we're a service business, so to speak. So it's very difficult to trim. But what probably is safe to say is that each department can be tasked with trimming a certain percentage so that no one department is hurt over another, because everybody has a vital role in serving the citizens. What doesn't need to happen is that we abandon our street program. We must stay with that because we must stay committed to some of the infrastructure needs that we've neglected over the years.
One of the things I think we need to take a look at, and it's already been said, is making sure that we look at that budget, work with the staff and the rest of the council members to look at the bottom line. I don't think you can broad brush this thing. I think you need to take a look, as Liz said, individual departments, you might be able to find some. let's not abandon the street program, and let's not abandon where we're searching for water. You know, one of the things I'm running on, and my granddaughters are 4 and 7, I want to ensure that their grandchildren have water 50 years from now. So we really need to take a good look at the budget.
I think the departments can be run more efficiently. I think there's a lot of waste out there. We see trucks pull up to if there's a water leak, we have 4 trucks there with 4 different people there. I think one truck could haul all 4 of those to get there. And I think with the GIS program coming in, we can run the departments more efficiently because there'll be more information available to the departments at a very quick time, just by clicking the computer mouse. Thank you.
Okay, hello, yes. The question we have here is, how do you plan to avail yourself to the people who elect you and ensure that we are indeed represented in the future? Let's start lady first and then downwards.
Well, for those of you that are in my district and see, we've had neighborhood chats monthly, and I think that is an excellent way of making myself available to my constituents in a rather informal, very comfortable setting. We've talked about some pretty heavy topics, some very expensive items that the council has been considering, and I think it's incumbent upon us as council members as well as staff to look for non-traditional ways of making ourselves available to dialogue with the constituents.
I mentioned in my opening statement that the communication is a big item for me, and reaching out to the constituents at 100% is very important. And my plan would be to hold the meetings prior and after the city council meeting to get information before and the input afterwards. I'll also, as I'm doing now, going door to door, because that is the way that people will be reached out to that are afraid to voice their opinions if they're afraid that they're not going to be heard or their voice doesn't matter.
As I'm walking the neighborhood looking for those voters, one of the things I've heard is you know, single-member District 5 residents have that opportunity for those meetings. We want to know whether or not you intend to do that if you're elected. And I think that Liz has put a model out there that can be followed. Communication, as Lane said, is essential to the existence of the city and the importance of how we move forward on this.
This is a good question for me. I've had experiences with the city manager for many years, not with this city manager, but the past city managers. This city manager told me last year, year before last, he said, you know, Daniel, I can't understand why you call me more than Johnny Silvas calls me, because my door has never closed to my constituents. My door has always been open to my constituents. Every day, people call me. I return phone calls. I'll call the city manager. Today, just today, a person called me from 1736 Cindy Lane about water pressure. I had the city out there checking the water pressure. You know, they said the water main's good. Well, check it up to the meter. Well, the meter's good. Well, it's the residents' problem. So my communication with the public has always been there, and it will continue being there. That's my #1 priority.
I think the neighborhood chats are a good idea. I'm going door to door, and people feel disenfranchised with the city council and feel that their voices are not being heard. They're talking to me, they're telling me their problems, and I think as a council member, I would like to stay in contact. If anybody wants to call me, they're welcome to call me for any reason, and I'm willing to listen to what they have to say and bring that before council, because I think that's the best way. I found that some of the council members don't really want to talk to all of their constituents, that they have meetings where not everybody's invited. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Thank you.
So there's really 4 ways to stay in communications. I think Elizabeth has set the standard for the neighborhood chats. We will definitely utilize those. Electronic media has become a very strong form of communication, so we'll establish the electronic media. We've got our public affairs. Mr. Anthony Wilson does an outstanding job of putting out messages to anyone that needs it from the city, and will ensure that he hits all of the mediums that are available to us: radio, television, print, electronics. And the last is, I'd like to look into an office space within the headquarters, so we could come into headquarters and people could meet with us there. Thank you.
Council candidates, what are the expectations that you have of the city manager, and what are some ways in which you believe the current city manager can improve service to both citizens and city employees? And this time, if we'll begin with Mr. Carter and work our way down and back around to Elizabeth.
I believe the city manager needs to be a little bit more transparent and easier to get in touch with. There are a lot of items on the agenda, concerned citizens trying to get in touch with them, like Mr. Cardenas said, and it's hard to get a hold of them. We need to be reaching out to him and letting him know exactly what the citizens are wanting from him, and keeping him in check to where he is providing that service for them.
Well, I think Lane said it. The city manager needs to be more transparent. I think two-way communication, though. I don't believe the citizens sometimes believe that the only way that their voices could be heard is on Facebook or with a neighbor. They don't know that they had that opportunity to visit with the council people, or visit with the staff to take care of what's necessary. Today, I think the city manager is doing a better job than he did 2 years ago, and I think as long as the council continues to hold his feet to the fire, he will continue to improve.
I believe the city manager is a good city manager. But I believe that city manager is only as good as the city council is, if we hold them accountable. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. I emailed our city manager about 2 months ago, and I asked him if he had read the trash contract and explained the requirements of the city and its consequences for the city. I didn't get a reply yet. I've been waiting for 2 months. Our previous city manager used to be on TV every Thursday and took questions from the citizens. This is not happening now. I think our city manager has to be more available to the public. Thank you.
You know, Daniel and I are very good, have a very good working relationship. I think he's very strong. I think he's very knowledgeable. I think one of the candidates up here said that we do need to provide additional support to him. I believe that if we allow Daniel to do his job and not micromanage as tight as we do, you will see a new Daniel. I, for one, will stand beside Daniel all the way through it. I've seen him in action. I've seen his job, and I think he's the right man.
I believe that Mr. Valenzuela is a very good city manager, but I think like most of us, I think there are methods of improvement that could be considered. I personally would like to see him a little bit more available to the public, perhaps on a monthly basis also, a coffee in the morning where citizens can come to City Hall and just meet him. Sometimes it's not even a complaint that someone has, but they really do want to know who's running their city. And I think that would be good also to have a dialogue like that with other city staff as well.
What kind of solutions do city council candidates have for dealing with drought in our drinking water supply? What is your position on the project for direct reclaimed water use? And we can start with Mr. Thomas and go back around.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
A little hard of hearing, so you get the microphone. Thank you.
What kind of solutions do city council candidates have for dealing with drought in our drinking water supply?
Okay.
What is your position on the project for direct reclaimed water use?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, one thing we know is the good Lord is going to let it rain, and he has let it rain quite a bit over the last few days. He will continue to do that. But today, we still only have 26 months worth of water out there. So we really need to look at how the citizens are watering their lawns and taking care of the trees and those types of things. I think rainwater harvesting is an opportunity for a lot of citizens to take care of those types of things and not have to use the precious water that we have in the lakes.
I will be open to any recommendations or any resources we have to reach out for water. Water is a precious, thing to have. Every city, like such as Dallas, has many water plants in operate in their plan. I believe that we should continue with a plan. But by the same token, I think that we should try to retain a city manager that will follow up to the long-range plans that the city council sets. What happens is that we have a vestment system here in San Angelo, and after 5 years, the city manager is already looking for another job where he can get paid more money, and he's got a secure deal, secure payment after 5 years here. We need to keep a city manager for 15, 20 years if we can, so we can reach out those long goals that we set.
Okay, we've had quite a bit of rain, but it's not going into the reservoirs because of the invasive species in the watershed. Those plants out there, they're so thick it slows down the water, and the water sinks into the ground, and then it's sucked up by the plants. Okay, and as far as the $136 million to be borrowed, and remember, that's borrowed money. That's not money that we have, and I don't think we can afford that. I think conservation and cleaning up the invasive plant species around our lakes to let the water run into the lake would be a big improvement. Thank you.
The water issue that you bring up is a very complex subject, and I think what we're going to have to do is continue with a regional view to develop a portfolio of opportunities for us. When you take a look at the reclaimed water that you specifically asked, I think that the council did the right thing by delaying that until we get more answers. There's several cities that are doing it, but regardless of what other cities do, it's our citizens that need to be okay with that as we go forward. Only then should we make a decision when everyone understands the issues.
Amen.
I would agree with about everything that Trinidad said. I think that we know that water is perhaps the most precious commodity going forward for our community. It is a very complex issue, and I'm interested in seeing a variety of options for us to look at so that we can vet those options and see what the most cost-effective solution is for us. What we know right now, unfortunately, is even with the Hickory that we don't have an adequate water supply to take us into the future. Surface water has an evaporation problem. We lose more in a day than we consume. So the idea of reclamation, I think, is one that we need to study, but we need to make sure we can afford it and that it's a safe supply.
I'm going to talk about the solutions at first. There's many solutions out there, but bottom line, we have to get the bang for our buck. We have to look at the ratio of how much water supply we have for the millions of dollars that we are being spent, and which one will be the best for the citizens to pay for. You have to keep an open mind with each process, whether it be a reservoir or groundwater or the water reclamation. So you have to wait for the data to come in and proceed and be proactive about it, because now is the time to take care of it, whether we like it or not.
I have a follow-up on the water issue. Two cities come to mind, El Paso and Tucson, Arizona, that have done significant jobs of conservation and reclaiming water. One thing that both cities have done is had the city supplement low flush toilets and compensate members of the community to go to zero-scaping. And I have raised this issue a number of times before, and it does not seem to be an issue that the city council looks at or deals with. And I'm curious, have any of you gone out to El Paso or Tucson and talked to those people about their water conservation and reclamation projects? That's to whoever would like to answer it.
Jack, I haven't been to Tucson. I have been to El Paso. But one issue that we have here that's really hard to overcome is the fact that what we don't sell, we don't have to help repair our infrastructure. And we have a lot of infrastructure issues and an amount of loss that we've all talked about at different forums that needs to be addressed as well. So there's a fine balance between teaching good conservation practices with our community and still having the revenue to take care of the system that we have. I believe that we need to be incentivized incentivizing our residents to implement more conservation practices, catchment systems, et cetera. Let them have some control over their situation and then affect their water usage and the rate.
I would agree on the incentives. She spoke before me, so. We need incentives to where the xeriscaping will be beneficial for people to want to put the time and the effort and the money to do that to their yards. They will be conserving water at that point, but we also have to look at the revenue that is coming through, because that's going to be how we pay for the infrastructure repairs, because we all see the water lines breaking throughout the city, and right now about 146 gallons out of 1,000 is lost due to our infrastructure. We need to look at that first.
Back? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have not been to El Paso and Tucson to study their water situations. I've been to both cities, though. We'll have to say this. I agree with what Lane and Liz have said. We have to continue to educate our citizens on water usage. We live on the edge of a drought. As I said earlier, we need to see if there's not a way that we can have them capture rainwater to use in their yards and their trees and all of those types of things. The city really needs to consider doing something very similar on their city buildings.
Back in 2006, 2007, when I served on the city council, I was always doing research. And we had the same situation then as we had today. We had the same situation back in the 80s as we have today. But I did some research, and what we're doing, we had three reader meters come to our house: the electric, the water, and the gas. So I started looking into this issue, and I said, how can we reduce cost? And why is it that we're losing so much water? Well, when I was looking to save money for the city of how we could reduce costs, or maybe we could provide the whole service ourselves. I said, I tell you what, I said, I came into I was doing some research, and I came up with Beaumont, Texas. Beaumont had replaced all their meters with computerized meters, which you have today, because we had a lot of broken meters that were not reading right. We were cheating ourselves. And they implemented that policy after I left, but it was a policy, an idea that I brought up when I was serving on the city council. I will continue as a councilman doing the same thing and looking for new ideas all the time. Thank you.
I agree with what Lane said. We need to make sure that that we're not losing water through old infrastructure, that it's not running into the ground. And plus, I think there was $40 million, which is going to be borrowed to repair the infrastructure. That is not being mentioned when they're talking about repairing the roads, but that's there. And I don't know what you mean by low flush toilets, because we have a modern toilet, and that doesn't save any water because you need to flush it twice.
One of the things that we need to take a look at when it comes to I agree with Elizabeth, the less water you use, the less revenue we have. We need to be aware of that. But at the same time, what I'd like to do is see a set pattern that is a yearly pattern as far as watering our plants or the infrastructure that we have outside. By going up and down, I think we confuse the citizens. We're real good at saving, then we say it's okay to use. So I'd like to see us get into a set pattern, understand that it's a year-round issue and not a monthly issue.
In the last year or two, it seems the council has developed a real affinity for passing new laws and ordinances when you look at and compare to previous years. Would you say that this sudden influx of passing laws and ordinances is staff-driven or council-driven? And if you are elected or re-elected, do you favor or oppose continuing this pattern? And what would you do to promote your position with that on the city council? Begin with Mr. Cardenas.
Okay, I've had experience in the past. Like I said, I served 12 years, and I've gone to a lot of TML meeting conferences, and that's what you learn in TML conferences. You copy other cities and how other cities are doing about raising money. And I've seen a pattern here in the city of San Angelo. I'm against it. fees here, fees here, fees here. I mean, they're charging fees. They're finding any source they can to charge taxpayers more of a tax. It's not so much of a fee; it's a tax on top of everything. But that's what we learned at TML, the Texas Municipal League. We go there. We talk to other individuals, all the other council members, other mayors, and they tell us different ideas of what they have, what they're doing, and we come back home and we try to implement those same things. We try to copy other cities. San Angelo is San Angelo. We should concentrate in San Angelo ourselves.
I think we're being regulated to death. Actually, businesses don't want to come here because of the regulations. People feel like that they're overtaxed, overregulated. Every time you turn around, there's a new user fee or new ordinance being passed. Okay, like take the and some of it is mean-hearted, I think, because you look at this dog park that's going to open now. If you're under 16 years old and you live in that area, you can be fined, or your parents can be fined for walking your dog in that park. I mean, the kids that live there, it will, if they're under 16 years old, it will be illegal for them to walk their dog in that park. That's crazy.
The direct question, I believe that it is council-driven because council passes the ordinances, whether they come from staff or if they come from the citizens. So I do believe that it is council-driven, and we need to control that. The more ordinances we pass, the more we remove from property rights, citizens' rights, and all of the other entities that are involved. I think the staff needs to take a more proactive role and do what they need to do without the ordinances. The concern that I have about the ordinances is ensuring that we can support them and take action when they're not followed.
I might have a slightly different perspective. I think that having sat on the council for the last 2 years, I can't think of anything in particular, and not that comes to mind easily, that was simply one person driven. I think that when we sit here as a council person, we're responding to citizens that have needs and have requests. I think sometimes those same citizens work through the staff, which we want them to have a dialogue with staff. So I think we're all trying to do the best we can by the citizens, but not all the time do citizens agree with what the best path is. But what's important is that we're all trying to respond.
I'm going to agree with Trinidad on this. San Angelo is one of the most restrictive cities that I've personally experienced and personally heard from other businesses that have been trying to come into town and establish. Our current council, it is council-driven, I believe. It is a tax and spend bureaucracy. And what that means is the higher tax and fees, which is just backdoor, and we're paying for it. An example will be the current issue from the last meeting that I've watched on TV. The fire protection fees used to be $25. The staff has asked for it to be $100, and our current councilman has pushed it to where it is the estimated cost of service all at once of $172. Instead of taking it a step by step, it's all at once, and that shouldn't be taken out on the citizens.
Well, I have to agree with Trinidad and Liz a little bit on this. I think it's driven by the people, the citizens. The bottom line, though, is who bears the cost of these things? Is it the individual user, which is fee-based, or is it the taxpayer themselves, which is your sales tax and your property tax? So what you have to do is weigh both of those. As long as it is for the protection of the citizens, I think it's a law that really, an ordinance that really needs to be looked at. Other than that, maybe we do a little bit too much.
Trash is a big concern of San Angeloans. So this concerns our solid waste disposal system. Please offer your views on whether the contract and resulting changes in trash collection and disposal have been a benefit to the city. If the answer is no, what would you do as a member of City Council to improve it? Let's start with Trinidad.
The direct question is, do I believe the contract is a good or a bad contract? I believe that From an overall perspective, I vote with the citizens. I think the citizens are not satisfied with the contract, and we need to make changes. Whether it's direct changes or indirect changes, I believe that we're going to have to go back to the corporate side of Republic and meet with those individuals to see what modifications can be made. But in every case, if the citizens don't like it, they're paying for it, we need to make some changes.
I came on council just as the trash contract was being approved. And I think it's interesting that we've been very critical of it after its passage. I think it's unfortunate that the citizens didn't have as much time to discuss the kinds of services that they wanted prior to its adoption. I think a big part of the contract and our dissatisfaction, of course, is the high price of it in an automated system. Most of the price of the trash contract has to do with the landfill closure costs, and that's something that I still don't think that we have educated the public on. I think changing the contract and modifying it, if that's what the citizens want to do, is fine, and I'm very much for that, but I want both Republic and city staff to prove to us that when this change occurs, that our citizens are getting still the most service they can get for the cost. I don't want us to lessen the cost of that service and benefit Republic.
I agree with Trinidad on this. It is a bad contract, and it should have been looked at from the beginning. We shouldn't have to be going through council to rebuttal it now to bring it to where it is a monthly bulk pickup instead of a quarterly. And I'm not against recycling, but I think we should be able to look at businesses and the apartment buildings who are deemed commercial, look into getting them recycle bins also, because they're going to get their 500 tons per month that they're looking for. But I believe it was bad from the beginning, and the citizens aren't happy with it.
Certainly, as I go around the community, the citizens talk about two things: water and trash. And one of the things that happened 2 years ago, I think we rushed too quickly to get this trash contract through. If anybody had the opportunity to watch in May, the second council meeting in May of 2014, I came to the podium as a concerned citizen and asked them to delay that thing for 6 months until we could learn a little bit more about what Republic was, and for Republic to get through their legal issues that they had. Today, I think we really need to look at what the contract says and if the citizens are getting their money's worth.
I am all for recycling, but I do have a problem with the way the city council can negotiated this contract in closed doors. The bid had been submitted, Company A, Company B. Company B won the bid. The council said that y'all left too much money on the table. This was told to me by somebody inside. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen. They said you left too much money on the table. The city can gain some money if we renegotiate this contract. The city can gain between $8 million to $12 million over a 10-year period. If I'm not telling you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, why did your Republic give us a kickback of $4.5 million that the mayor said we got for free? It's not for free. Now, if our infrastructure is so bad, why did we go back and invest $2.5 million in city auditorium seats? I mean, seats for the auditorium. Why didn't we channel that money to the infrastructure, to the water lines, to the pavement, to Bell Street? You know, this is what I have a problem with. Transparency, once again.
Okay, I picked up a copy of the contract. It is a bad contract. The Republic in the contract promises that they will improve services. They haven't. The services have got worse. Why not give the people 2 trash cans? Because 1 trash can is not enough for some people. And the contract does allow the city to open up that contract with an agreement between the company and the city. And I think that should be looked into, and the contract should be renegotiated in our favor. Not every time we look around, we hear about it being in something being done in favor of the company rather than the citizens.
I hate to interrupt this, but we're on television also. So we're going to have to close it down, and each candidate has 1 minute to make a closing statement, if you would, please. We'll start with you, Liz.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I really do think that I have a unique set of skills and understand this organization better than anyone sitting up here. Having worked in it, I understand how budgets work, I understand the staff, I understand the demands on them, and I also understand where our weaknesses are. I think I really can use that to help guide the city into a higher growth model, but also watching, as I'm going to use Harry's line, the bottom line. We have a finite budget, and we must live within our means. We can talk about new projects, we can talk about staffing up the police and fire all day long, but at the end of the day, we still have to write the check. And so I ask that you allow me to consider another term. You know I have a passion for this, for public service, and as I said before, I want to use that to the benefit of all citizens of San Angelo. Thank you.
I believe I mentioned this is my first political race. From what I've learned by talking with the citizens, that you might not have to have the experience on the council and sitting on boards for years to be a listening ear. A lot of people are being heard, but they're not being listened to. We need to listen to 100% of the citizens and vote accordingly. My priorities will be the infrastructure, the communication between the council and the constituents being brought back together, and business development. So on May 7th, I'm asking for your vote for the listening ear and to be more proactive instead of reactive on our council. Thank you.
As a concerned citizen, I have been to the city council meetings over the last 3.5 years. I missed one after I had heart surgery this last year. So I know what the issues are. I know what the council deals with. I listen to what the staff is going through. So really what I'm doing is listening also to the citizens as I go around. And they're worried about water. They're worried about streets. They're worried about safety. As I said earlier, my granddaughters are 4 and 7. I don't want to kick that can just across the room. I want to make sure that they've got water for their grandchildren 50 years down the road. As I mentioned, I'm an accountant by trade. I can look at budgets. I can help the staff. I can help the rest of the council members look for those dollars to take care of those projects. So everything that we do is about money. And I'll be your eyes on the bottom line. I need your vote on May 7th.
I believe my 12 years experience, not my 12 years, but my cumulative years that I have served on the council and the school board and zoning board of adjustments has given me the lead in serving the people in Single Member District 3. I believe that I can understand the people directly. I can communicate both in English and Spanish throughout the district, throughout San Angelo. And I'm not for what's popular, okay? I'm not for what's right. I'm not there to be loved. I'm there to be respected. So I need your vote. May the 7th. Thank you so much. God bless.
Okay, I live in a middle-class neighborhood, and I'm the type of person that I talk to all my neighbors, and I've paid attention to what's going on with the city council for years, and I see lots of discontact with the people. It seems like the council, the last number of councils, they have no interest in actually what the people want, what the concerns of the people in the neighborhoods. There's too much emphasis, I think, on the downtown area. There's not enough attention paid to other areas of the city, and I think citizens feel that certain businesses and that in the downtown area are getting special attention when businesses outside that area are being ignored. And I think everybody in the city should be treated equally, all the businesses. And as far as for downtown revitalization, I don't think that has been much of a success myself, because there's still lots of empty buildings down there. And my philosophy is to include everyone. Thank you. Vote for Bill Richardson on May 7th. Thank you.
You know, by serving on the city council, you assume a large responsibility of ensuring that things are done in a timely manner. you also need to understand that everyone is passionate about the issues that we have on the table. And each one of us up here want to do the right thing. But there's a gap between wanting to get it done and knowing how to get it done. I think that by bringing me onto the city council, I will bring back an experience, from Verizon, from having a couple of entrepreneur opportunities that I started and are very successful. I will bring a different view and a lot of understanding on how to get things done. So when I think of why I'm here and why you should vote for me, it's because I have a passion for this and I have the knowledge to get it done. So your support for me for SMD1 is something that I really would be honored to have. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of the candidates and remind you that we're going to take a short break now, and then the panel with the candidates for Chief of Police will start at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much.